Welcome back to The Burning Oath, the channel that gives a voice to the men and women who run toward the fire when everyone else runs away. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on something the fire service has kept locked inside the firehouse for decades. The burnout, the addiction, the trauma that never leaves, and the silence that kills. If you've ever wanted to understand what it really costs to wear the badge, stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see every firefighter you've ever met. There are over 1 million firefighters serving in the United States right now. Career, volunteer, urban, rural. They come in every shape, size, and background. But no matter where they serve, they all carry the same invisible weight. When a firefighter takes the oath, they swear to protect life and property. What nobody tells them is what that oath will cost them in return. This documentary is about that cost. For generations, the fire service has operated under a code. You don't complain, you don't show weakness. You handle what happens on the job, and then you go home and handle it there too. It was called toughness. Today, we know it by a different name, a crisis. Burnout is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is what happens to the human body and mind when it has been asked to give more than it can sustain, over and over again, without enough rest, support, or acknowledgement. For firefighters, burnout doesn't look like sitting on a couch. It looks like going to work every single day, but being completely, utterly empty inside. Many firefighters work 24 to 48-hour shifts, or longer. They respond to medical calls, fire calls, accidents, overdoses, suicides, sometimes back-to-back, barely sleeping, barely eating. Then they go home and are expected to be a good parent, a good partner, a good human being, something nobody trained them for. The body keeps the score. Every traumatic call leaves a chemical mark, cortisol surges, adrenaline spikes, the nervous system lit up like a circuit board. Over years, this causes catastrophic damage. Heart disease is the #1 killer of firefighters, not fires. Beyond physical burnout, there is something called compassion fatigue, the emotional exhaustion that comes from caring too much for too long about too many strangers in crisis. A firefighter might save a child from a burning building on Monday, work a fatal car crash on Tuesday, and respond to a pediatric cardiac arrest on Wednesday, and then be expected to laugh at dinner on Thursday. The very thing that makes firefighters great, the pride, the brotherhood, the identity, can become a prison. Because once you've tied your entire sense of self to being strong for others, asking for help feels like betraying everything you are. According to behavioral health researchers, approximately 30% of first responders, including firefighters, develop conditions including depression, PTSD, and substance use disorders. By comparison, the rate in the general public is around 20%. These are people who run into what the rest of us run away from, and we've left them to deal with it alone. Listen to what firefighters themselves have said, in their own words, about reaching the breaking point. One veteran captain said, "I started dreading the tones. Every time that alarm went off, I felt dread instead of duty. That's when I knew something had broken in me." Another paramedic/firefighter described it this way: "I was the best actor in the station, laughing, joking. Nobody knew I was going home and sitting in my car in the driveway for an hour before I could go inside." Alcohol has always had a place at the firehouse table. After a hard call, a drink with the crew felt like medicine, a way to decompress, to laugh it off, to numb the edges. But medicine can become poison. And for a significant number of firefighters, what started as a beer after shift became something they couldn't stop. The cruelest part of addiction in the fire service is the double life it requires. At the station, these firefighters are professional, capable, trusted. In their off hours, they are drowning. And the culture makes it easy to hide, because heavy drinking was never taboo. It was almost a rite of passage. Alcohol isn't the only substance. Firefighters deal with chronic pain from injuries sustained on the job, backs, knees, shoulders, and for years, opioid prescriptions were handed out freely. The combination of physical pain, mental trauma, and access to powerful medications created the perfect storm. One of the most dangerous factors is the code of silence. Firefighters will cover for each other. They'll drive a brother home instead of confronting him. They'll make excuses to the captain because reporting a brother feels like betrayal. But silence is not loyalty. Silence is complicity, and it has cost lives. For the firefighters who recognize they have a problem, getting help is not simple. Seeking treatment often means facing fear of job loss, fear of what their crew will think, fear of losing the identity that kept them going. Some departments have employee assistance programs. Many don't. And even where they exist, the stigma keeps people away. There are firefighters in recovery. Firefighters who found their way through treatment, through peer support, through the courage to say out loud what they never thought they'd admit. And those firefighters are some of the most powerful voices in this fight because they prove it is possible. Post-traumatic stress is not weakness. It is a normal neurological response to abnormal events. When the brain experiences a life-threatening or emotionally devastating event, it stores that memory differently, in a part of the brain that does not understand time. It doesn't know the call is over. It responds as if the danger is still happening. For firefighters who experience dozens, sometimes hundreds, of traumatic events over a career, the cumulative effect is enormous. Ask any firefighter what haunts them most. 9 out of 10 will say, the children. Responding to a child who has been hurt, or worse, who could not be saved, leaves a mark that decades cannot erase. Many firefighters have said they can still see the child's face 20 years later as clearly as the day it happened. One of the most exhausting symptoms of trauma is hypervigilance, the inability to turn off the threat detection system. Firefighters sit with their backs to the wall in restaurants. They scan rooms for exits. They can't sleep without checking the doors. Their brains never truly rest. Nightmares are one of the most common symptoms of PTSD in firefighters. Replays of calls, distorted and horrifying. Waking up in a cold sweat, heart pounding, and then going back to work on no sleep. Sleep deprivation alone degrades cognitive function, emotional regulation, and physical health. Layer that onto an already traumatized system, and the results can be catastrophic. Most people think of PTSD as something caused by one catastrophic event, and sometimes it is. But for firefighters, it's often what researchers call cumulative trauma, the slow accumulation of hundreds of calls, each leaving a small mark, until those marks add up to something the person can no longer carry. Trauma doesn't stay in the firehouse. It comes home. It sits at the dinner table. It shows up in angry outbursts, in emotional withdrawal, in a parent who can't engage with their own kids. Divorce rates among firefighters are significantly higher than the general population. And children in these households often develop anxiety, not knowing why dad or mom seems to be at war with something invisible. Many firefighters resist a PTSD diagnosis because of what they fear it means. That they'll be pulled from duty, that their brothers will see them differently, that they'll no longer be the person they were when they put on the badge. So they white-knuckle it. They power through. They fall apart in private and hold it together in public until they can't anymore. EMDR, cognitive processing therapy, peer support networks. These are real, effective, evidence-based treatments. Firefighters who access them report dramatic improvements. The problem is, not enough of them know these tools exist, and not enough departments make them accessible. More firefighters die by suicide than in the line of duty. We said it in the opening. We are saying it again because it demands to be heard. In recent years, more firefighters have died by their own hand than in fires. This is not a footnote. This is a national emergency. The warning signs are often missed or ignored because they look like someone being quiet or tired or withdrawn, which in a firehouse can look like just another guy having a rough week. But there are specific signs: giving away personal items, talking about being a burden to others, sudden calm after a period of depression, researching methods, saying goodbye. Research is unambiguous. Asking someone directly if they are thinking about suicide does not plant the idea. It does the opposite. It opens a door. Firefighters who have been asked that question by a peer, not a therapist, a peer, report that it was the moment they realized they weren't invisible. Someone saw them, and that changed everything. The Firehouse is a community unlike any other. You eat together, sleep under the same roof, trust each other with your life. When that ends, suddenly, after 25 years, the isolation can be shattering. Female firefighters carry everything their male counterparts carry, and more. They often face additional pressure to prove themselves in a traditionally male institution. Many report harassment, isolation, and being held to a higher standard. The mental health impact of those additional stressors compounds everything else. 70% of American firefighters are volunteers. They get little to no compensation, often have no access to employee assistance programs, and return from the same traumatic scenes to regular day jobs as teachers, plumbers, accountants, without a debriefing, without a check-in, without any support at all. There is movement. The conversation is happening. Younger generations of firefighters are rejecting the "suck it up" culture. Organizations like the First Responder Support Network, Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance, and programs like SHARE are making real differences. But change in institutions is slow, and every day the culture doesn't change is another day a firefighter suffers in silence. The solution is not simple, but it is clear. Every fire department in America needs three things: mandatory mental health resources, a stigma-free reporting culture starting at the top, and peer support programs staffed by firefighters themselves. Because firefighters will talk to other firefighters before they'll ever walk into a therapist's office. Peer support programs, where trained firefighters reach out to struggling colleagues, have been shown to dramatically increase help-seeking behavior. Because the message isn't coming from HR, it's coming from the guy who rode the truck with you last Tuesday. Firefighting is one of the most demanding human endeavors ever conceived. The men and women who do it are not superhuman. They only look that way from the outside. Inside, they are carrying what they've seen, what they've done, what they couldn't do. And they are doing it in a culture that for too long told them to carry it alone. That ends when we talk about it. So, we talked about it. Now share it, because somewhere a firefighter is watching this who needed to hear it. This has been The Burning Oath, your source for the real stories of the fire service, the ones that make you proud, and the ones that demand to be heard. If this documentary moved you, share it. If it helped you, let us know in the comments. And if you are a first responder who wants to tell your story, reach out. We are here for it. Subscribe to The Burning Oath, because the oath isn't just taken once, it's kept every single day.